Hello, and welcome to coverage of Custom Night Magic for the MSEM format. I'm Caillou, and today we're going to be spectating the round 1 match between Timespiraled, otherwise known as Matt, who's playing MonoGreen Aggro, and Cyber Chronometer, who is playing Dreamsight Control. You may be wondering what the 133 card library is about. Well, that's because of the titular card Dreamsight which allows you to draw 5 cards for 1 green or a blue, but only if you have, I think, 100 or more cards in your library. The idea of this deck is that you basically play you basically play you play like lots of redundant cards as well as tutors, and then you aim to just overwhelm your opponent in card advantage while just playing good multi-purpose cards. And here, Cyber mulligans into the titular card, has the Dreamsight also has a Violent Collapse, which is very good versus aggro decks like Matt's, though Matt can technically go bigger than 3 toughness. But yeah, Cyber is going to bottom the Mystic Arts. Doesn't really need a tutor now that Cyber has Dreamsight plus Seek Prophecy and a Wrath in hand. Timespiraled, meanwhile, is going to go turn 1 Elvish Opportunist. Oh no, Elvish Money Changer. It's a 1/1 trample with trade for creatures. Every time you reveal a creature card, it gets bigger. That makes sense. Okay, Cyber drawing into a Veil's Recovery, which is basically just says destroy target creature in this matchup. Matt is on a MonoGreen deck. I think Cyber is currently thinking between which of their lands they should run out first. Because they could run out an untapped land turn 1 for the cost of 1 or 2 life, and then go Seek Prophecy, which I think would probably be the best play. Just Wayfarer's Shrine into an island, Flooded Depths next turn into some sort of black land, preferably just a basic swamp, and then turn 3 Nomad's Township. But it's just going to play the Flooded Depths and pass. I guess Cyber is valuing their life total and is thinking, I don't really need to dig for more cards right now because I have Dreamsight plus Seek Prophecy available. I just need to maintain my life total until I can run out this Violent Collapse. But I think with Violent Collapse and Veil's Recovery, Cyber could play a little fast and loose with their life total, especially since MonoGreen Aggro doesn't have the kind of reach that a black or a red deck would have. So Cyber's going to reveal a Mossy Companion off of the Elvish Money Changer. Grows into a 2/2. And that Mossy Companion is going to be annoying for Cyber because it does not die to the Violent Collapse. And then has a Royan Bay Admiral. Going to attack in with the Elvish Money Changer. And then on end step, it's going to make this Elvish Money Changer grow into a 3/3 because of the Art of War trigger. Which does mean that if Matt hits another creature off of the Elvish Money Changer, might just be able to grow this Elvish Money Changer bigger than Violent Collapse can kill, because Matt attacks in with Round Bay and Elvish Money Changer. That grows Elvish Money Changer into a 3/3, and if Elvish Money Changer reveals a creature, it'll grow into a 4/4. Because Cyber is going to find a basic swamp off of the Flooded Depths. Okay, he's just going to pass with Veil's Recovery up. Unironically, you probably don't want to play Dreamsight yet, just because, you don't want to have to discard 5 cards. Why not just run out more of your hand, and then you can refill with Dreamsight. And it's not like Matt has Hand Attack to make you worry that he's going to grab this Violent Collapse. And there's a creature, Primal Ruffian. Elvish Money Changer does grow into a 3/3, and then if Royan Bay gets to hit, Elvish Money Changer grows into a 4/4. So I think Matt is probably going to play could play Elvish Opportunist and a Primal Ruffian, but I think is probably just going to play the Chittering Chaurus. Oh no, okay, he's going to go wide. He's going to play the Primal Ruffian and the Elvish Opportunist, I'd assume. Yep. And then probably when Matt moves to attacks, I'd imagine that Cyber is going to Veil's Recovery the Royan Bay, so that Elvish Money Changer can't survive the Violent Collapse. Of course, then Matt just drops Mossy Companion, and Cyber's in a little bit of a bind. So in response to attacks, Cyber is going to Veil's Recovery the Royan Bay. So next turn, probably Wayfarer's Shrine, grab a island, and then just straight Violent Collapse 3-for-1 Matt. Ooh, and Cyber has a Memento Mori as an answer for the Mossy Companion. I was about to say that even if Cyber doesn't have an answer in hand for the Mossy Companion, if Cyber hits another land, can conjure realities for an answer. And if Cyber doesn't hit another land, can also seek prophecy for it. So Cyber, I think, is well within their right to just Violent Collapse here and 3-for-1 Matt, and then just have more. Just rely on your deck's card advantage to have answers to the future cards that Matt could run out. And yep, Violent Collapse. And now Matt needs another land to be able to play this Mossy Companion, otherwise he'll just have the Chittering Chorus, which Chittering Chorus's ability to recur itself, because of its ability to transform into Chorus Nest, essentially just makes it a 3-turn I will come back soon, is really good versus control decks. Okay, so Matt does hit the 4th Forest, but is going to run out the Chittering Chorus instead of the Mossy Companion, probably because the Chittering Chorus is harder for Cyber to answer. Now I think Cyber probably has exile removal in here. Memento Mori ain't it, so needs to hit a 4th land here to be able to conjure realities for it. And that's a 4th land, Flooded Morass, and has the basic swamp and island to make it enter untapped. Okay, so Cyber is going to run out the Dreamsight well now. Draws a whopping 5 cards. Has to discard 2 at end of turn, but kind of doesn't matter. But I am surprised that I feel like if I was Cyber, I would just run out Conjure Realities and then find some sort of exile removal for the Chorus, because you're well into the point where you can just 1-for-1 Matt. The Dreamsight feels a little bit greedy. Unless Cyber doesn't actually have like a banish or any sort of exile removal, in which case Cyber's going to need multiple answers. Okay, and he's going to shuffle in Wicked Weaving, Harrowing Experience, Stand Unassailable, Singularity's Grasp, all good sideboard cards. And that's another cool part about Dreamsight Well, is that it gives you so many cool things to tutor up. And interestingly enough, okay, so has an Exit, so that's another answer. Ultimate Emissary, which is definitely a weird card to see in this deck, but I guess it works out because you play a lot of cards, you're probably going to discard cards off the Dreamsight, and it functions as a win con by allowing you to beat down with it and also recur answers. So for now, Cyber's going to play Flooded Morass, and I imagine is probably going to just hold up Exit. Oh no, it's going to play Exit now. I feel like this is a mistake, because when does Chorus Nest trigger? Yeah, Chorus Nest triggers on the beginning of your upkeep. Cyber should have waited until Matt's turn to play that Exit, because now the Chorus will be able to come back 1 turn faster. Okay, and then it's going to run out the Ultimate Emissary. I guess Cyber played the Exit on their turn because they wanted to play the Ultimate Emissary right afterwards. And I guess Cyber's thought is they can play the Memento Mori next turn to kill the Chorus Nest anyways. Like, it's highly unlikely that Matt is going to sacrifice the Mossy Companion instead. So yeah, Matt's just going to run out the Mossy Companion. Okay, the main thing is Cyber just needs to have an answer for the Mossy Companion as well. Because as long as Cyber can finagle that, Cyber will be able to just pretty much just win this game. They can just keep 1-for-1ing Matt, because they have stuff like Mystic Arts and Conjure Realities to just tutor up answers. I feel like the best play here is probably Memento Mori, or no, actually, Conjure Realities for exile removal, then play Memento Mori off of the Abound. If Timespiraled decides to keep the Mossy Companion, you just kill it next turn. If Timespiraled decides to keep the Chorus Nest, you just exile it with the exile removal you got, and just take the 5 from the Companion. Okay, so it's just going to run out the Memento Mori, edicting Matt. So this is the same line we were talking about earlier, so Matt is going to let the Chorus die, so it does not get to use the recursion ability, unfortunately. The Mossy Companion is still around, but Cyber doesn't have an answer for this turn. Next turn can conjure realities and kill it. This, and then on end, can use Altimer's Emissary's ability to draw a card. Or I guess Cyber can also Mystic Arts for just 2 removal spells. Or just like Dreamsight Well recursion spell. So Matt's gonna swing in with the Mossy Companion, hit Cyber for 5, has a second Mossy Companion that is going to hurt. Yeah, and now this is where Cyber starts being in a pickle. For Singularity's Grasp, X equals 5, Cyber is 2 mana off, so will not be able to use it as a 2-for-1. On end is going to Altimer Emissary, draw a card. Well, Exent does help, but Cyber will have to give up the Altimer Emissary, which is why running creatures and control decks has become kind of antiquated in MSEM. Like, Exent is the premier removal spell, and running creatures you risk 2-for-1ing yourself. But I think here Cyber has to 2-for-1 themselves, just conjure realities and removal spell. Unless Cyber has a banish, in which case a conjure realities banish will take care of both Mossy Companions. So yeah, Cyber didn't hit a second removal spell off the top of their library, so now has to just, I think, conjure realities, and then if Cyber has banish in their deck, banish. Otherwise, just generic removal spell, Abounded, kill the Mossy Companion, and then Exit. Okay, so drew a card off of the Altimer Emissary, it looks like. No, okay. Used Altimer Emissary's rebuy ability, and then double Exits. That's actually another line. Yeah, I forgot about Altimer Emissary's rebuy ability and all of that. And Cyber had just enough mana to do that. Unfortunately, doesn't get to keep the Altimer Emissary and keep rebuying spells, but kind of doesn't need it. Anyways, Matt is going to try and go hard for these last few pieces of damage. Going to run out the last 2 cards in his hand, Primal Ruffian and Round Bay Admiral. But I think if you're Cyber, you just go in for the kill here. Just Singularity's Grasp, X equals 2, and then Matt is pretty much out of the game. Okay, he's going to Seek Prophecy first, revealing Strike from Shadows, Altimer Emissary, Stand Unassailable. Both Stand Unassailable and Altimer Emissary are technically win cons. I think Stand Unassailable is really the faster one. I'm an impatient player, so I'd probably take the Stand Unassailable, but I think Altimer Emissary is also a fair choice. And I think if you're playing Dreamsight Control, you're not exactly going in for the short game. So yeah, is going to grab the Altimer Emissary. And now Singularity's Grasp X equals 2? Yup, here comes the Singularity's Grasp X equals 2. And then can just play the Altimer's Emissary afterwards. And yep, Altimer out. And now, yeah, Matt's empty-handed. Cyber can just start rebuying spells with the Altimer Emissary. Matt is going to play the Bessie's Brood, though. Altimer Emissary is not going to survive a brawl with this big worm. Altimer Emissary be like, I work out at the library. But you know what? Jocks beat nerds. We've officially discovered the solution to the formula here. And now that actually makes it a little bit more difficult for Cyber, actually, because now Cyber is out of removal and a recursion engine, but still can conjure realities and find an answer for this Bessie's Brood. Cyber is doing some big thonks. I guess it's going to start by running out the Wheat from Chaff. Oh, no Wheat from Chaff, just going to run out the conjure realities straight up. Removal tutor time. Oh no, just straight Dreamsight Well? Again, that feels a little greedy. I guess the thought is abound into it, draw 5 cards, and then hopefully hit a cheap removal spell from there. Unfortunately, Cyber did not hit a cheap removal spell from there. Does have an Altimer Emissary, though, so can play that and then recur a spell next turn. Also, Ancestral Council is another way to tutor for a removal spell. And did Cyber play a land this turn? Cyber didn't. So can Ancestral Council this turn and then find a removal spell. And it looks like Cyber is going to do that, yep. And fortunately, Bessie's Brood does not have Trample. And so, yeah, so it's going to grab a Strike from the Shadows to kill the Bessie's Brood, and then can just chump with the Ancestral Council this turn. And then next turn can just In addition to the Strike from Shadows, run out the Altmer Emissary, and then I think that is pretty much game for... But hey, as long as Matt keeps hitting creatures instead of lands from the top of his library. So he's going to attack with Bessie's Brood. Cyber's going to chump with the Ancestral Council. And then main 2, Matt is going to play out the Elvish Money Changer. Okay, so now Cyber can just Strike from Shadows the Bessie's Brood, then play Altmer Emissary, and then activates its second ability. That way Cyber both draws a card and Altmer Emissary becomes a 2/4, so it survives blocking Elvish Money Changer even if Matt hits a land. Oh, he's going to play a Wheat from Chaff first. I guess it does have 2 lands in hand, which Cyber probably doesn't need. Yeah, it draws into Arcane Genesis and Violent Collapse, both of which are very good here. Again, you probably don't want the Violent Collapse as much, though, just because you want to keep your Altmer Emissary around. But it now has access to casting Arcane Genesis and also cracking the Clue if need be, and just ignoring the Elvish Money Changer. Matt does not hit a creature off the top of his library, so this Elvish Money Changer will be staying a 1/1, which means Matt can't attack with it. Matt is attacking with it. I think Cyber in response can just make Altmer Emissary 2/4, right? Yep, in response Cyber is going to make the Altmer Emissary 2/4 and then it can block and kill the Money Changer. Yeah, kind of a punt by Matt. At least force Cyber to use one of their many removal spells, which they can also now start recurring. So now, does Cyber have any Revelation? Cyber does not have any Revelation-style win cons in their graveyard, but will be getting one shortly because of this Mystic Arts. So can choose like Stand Unassailable and the Explore one, yeah, Recall Forgotten Aeons, and then no matter which one, yeah, Stand Unassailable plus Recall, and no matter which one Matt decides to bottom, or sorry, put in the graveyard, Cyber can cast the other one next turn with the insane amount of mana they have. So is gonna grave the Stand Unassailable. Will gain Cyber 7 life and give Cyber a huge creature next turn. Cyber's just gonna play out the Recall Forgotten Aeons, draw 2 cards, and explore. Also, I've noticed that this match has gone on for a single game has gone on for almost 40 minutes. So it might have to go to turns, honestly. Cyber gonna attack in with the Altmer Emissary. But yeah, because I think it'll go to turns just because the round is just 50 minutes, and they will definitely not have time for a game 2 unless Cyber wins this one quickly, and then Matt can also win the second game blazingly fast, because I don't think Cyber is liable to win a game quickly. And Matt hitting another land from the top of his library, definitely a problem. And yeah, Matt is just going to concede there, and is also going to concede the entire match because of what I just mentioned. There's no time for a game 2, unfortunately. But yeah, okay, so good game to Cyber. It's really exciting to see Dreamsight control back on the fold. And even though Matt's deck kind of got punched around by Cyber's deck, I think in a field where other people are also trying to linear, I think Matt's deck has a very good chance just because of versus combo and stuff, you still have a fast clock, and versus other aggro decks, stuff like Mossy Companion acts as a great blocker against other aggressive creatures. Until next round, this is Caillou, signing off.